This is Christopher, and here's our second look at the Aakash $35 tablet from India. And in this particular look, we're going to focus more on the tablet for its intended audience, and that is school children for education. Now, as you can see here, again, the biggest problem we've had with the tablet is it's very, very slow. It can't handle panning very well, large changes in the graphics display. But we're not going to dwell on that. Instead, we're going to start thinking about dealing with documents. So we're going to click here on Documents to Go and bring up Word to Go. Documents to Go is a pretty well-known program. And first thing we tried to do is we tried to create a new document. But for whatever reason, we could not get the keyboard to come out. And I figured that's got to be some simple bug that probably when the full version comes out, they will have resolved. And anyways, I actually found that the keyboard's not that useful. It's better to use a keyboard when interfacing with this device, and we'll cover that later. So instead, we clicked on one of the only docs that we could find when we got this thing, and it opened. It seemed to read. It didn't display graphics, as you can see here. We're not sure what the problem is there, but we were able to scroll up and down and read the document reasonably well, and we found that the scroll rate here was not that bad. Again, this is a $35 tablet. So given that price point, and for kids who have actually access to like no technology, this is, I at least find useful or good enough, as it were. So we decide, okay, well, let's try Android Office. Our test unit came with Android Office installed, and what we were surprised is none of the new text documents and did not seem to work. The only thing we could do was look at spreadsheets. So hopefully, again, when the final version comes out, we can get our hands on that and to test it. So we fell back on our old standby. We opened up Notepad and decided to try typing in there. So as we tried in some other films, the virtual keyboard is, it simply just comes up way too slow, and we find it's fairly difficult to use. We actually find what's more useful is using a keyboard. So as you can see here, I tried typing test, and it's okay. Again, I was standing sideways, which made it a little bit harder. But now, as you can see, I'm going to connect in a external keyboard through the USB slot. So you do that on your iPad. And when I connected it up, it actually recognized my USB keyboard pretty fast. I was surprised. I clicked it in. I waited about a few seconds. I just started hitting the key real quick, and boom, I got some recognition. So I started typing on it, and it actually works really, really well. I was typing sideways on a keyboard I don't use very much, which shows my horrible typing skills. But again, it's a $35 tablet. You put on a cheap $5 keyboard, you got something useful for creating content. Adeco, and I'm totally guessing that's how it's pronounced, Adeco Premium. And we brought up Art of War, and it worked pretty well. So basically, I kind of have like a $35 Kindle in my hand that tries to run Android when you think about it. But if you, again, consider the goal here is to get this out into the villages in India. Imagine that I can load whole textbooks of information on this thing, and as you can see, I'm panning. It's not super smooth, but it's working well enough that it's useful. I can read it. So we decide, all right, let's test this thing out. So we got our USB key here, generic USB key, plugged into the USB port on the side. And we gave it a few seconds for the system to find the key, initialize. And anything you put in as an SD or whatever, it always calls it, or I'm sorry, any USB key you put in always calls it an SD card. That threw us off initially, but we figured it out. So we went to the I/O file manager, and kaboom! There's all our documents, PowerPoint slides, PDFs. It also found MPEG-3s, it found videos and everything else. So we decided, all right, let's take a look at a PowerPoint, hit slideshow to go, and up it came. And so and as you see, it's using Documents to Go. And it took a little bit of time to load. The I/O port is not that fast, but it still worked well enough to be useful. And for a beta device, well enough to be useful is actually pretty impressive. It's not going to win any speed contests, but as you can see here, it's usable. And I think that's really, the most important thing to note with the device. So if you can imagine, for $35, you can give a whole classroom of students this device, and every semester you just give them a USB, and it has all your textbooks, has all your reading materials. I guess you could put exams on it, simple I/O stuff, and the savings in producing and moving textbooks in itself makes this project worth it right there. So pretty impressed. It's not fast, but it works. Throw a USB key in, pull in a file, read it. I think that's the biggest win right there.